7 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. Michelle, will you read the sunshine ordinance?
This is a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Keyport, Tuesday, May 16, 2023. Let the minutes show that adequate notice of this meeting as required by Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, has been provided by the annual notice, which has been posted on the bulletin boards filed with the Borough Clerk and has been sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Independent, and the Star Ledger.
Michelle, will you do the roll call?
Councilmember Demarest.
Present.
Councilmember Riley.
Here.
Councilmember Vecchio.
Here.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Here.
Councilmember McNamara.
Here.
Council President Davidson. And Mayor Aranio.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Will you rise for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like everybody to remain standing for a moment of silence for 18-year-old high school student Lauren Husky, who died in a horrible crash this past week. Lauren attended St. John Vianney's and was on her way home from graduating from local university. Our thoughts are with her family and our neighboring community on this tragedy. Thank you. We're going to start with the presentation from MPP, which is Nicole Hen. Will you join us?
Thank you. Hi. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Nicole Hen. I'm the NPP coordinator for the borough. I'm here tonight to introduce the NPP ARP, which is American Rescue Plan grant. It's an exclusive grant opportunity offered to NPP towns only. There are 40. Only 27 are eligible at this moment to apply. So it's not all 40 towns going out for this, but it's the 27 that met the criteria. Part of that was making sure you're up to date with all of your reporting on standard NPP work, as well as having your year 3 starting to be implemented. We check all of those boxes. I'm happy to report Keyport is always in the top 3 in terms of reporting and performance. So hopefully that'll help us be better favored in terms of this grant. This grant started discussions probably last year. It was supposed to be announced, it was held up, and finally about 3 weeks ago it was, hey, it's real. So we were kind of ready to jump on it. I would say, in terms of competitiveness, I was feeling a lot better about less people applying a few weeks ago. However, I think given our track record, we'll fare pretty well. Funding can be between $100,000 and $700,000. Match requirements came over $250,000. The tricky thing with match money is we couldn't partner NPP funds as a match. We can apply some of those funds to put towards a project, which we would plan to do depending on where the funding lies. So for tonight's purposes and what we're planning, we are going to focus on Beach Park Playground, the area immediately next to it on both sides. For a long time, if any of you have ever visited that location, you know it's in need of some repairs. The playground has reached its end life cycle. I don't know how much longer we'll be able to keep just patching it at this point. So an opportunity like this comes along, we really have to look at what's going to be a higher expense to try and apply for, and this kind of hit that bill. The Maze area, which was a wonderful community opportunity, has also reached the end of its life cycle, and that could be a great location for a picnic. There's no tables currently in that location, so visitors are often moving onward from the park. So this is another opportunity for us to potentially keep people and foot traffic in town, in our downtown, running up to grab something to eat, coming back down to hang out at the park, have a picnic lunch, and really give a created space to the community. So this is a federally funded grant. It's tied to a response to COVID relief, meaning it doesn't just have to be economic recovery, so to speak. It could be physical and emotional. And as we all know, those playgrounds were used so much during the pandemic because it was the only opportunity that people had to gather. Well, they were not permitted to gather indoors. So it's a perfect location. It checks the boxes of what we need to present. There's a distress, we have a need, we'll meet that goal. The other part of this too is it's historic. Doing some research, we were able to come up with some newspaper clippings from the turn of the 1900s where the location was specifically designated as a park for the community, including swings. It was the first time swings were mentioned. So we're able to also tie in a bit of a historical preservation project in with this. So that sort of checks another box. So for tonight, in the packet there's an overview of what we're looking to do in the location. We are going to put in for $275,000. We're going to come up with a $30,000 match, and we'll do that by way of $25,000 in open space trust reserve, as well as potentially absorbing minor costs, maybe $5,000 for engineering and DPW if it comes to that. Now I can tell you if funding is lowered to the $250 and we are not required to put a match up, we can adjust what we are willing to put up in terms of match funding. So that's just something that you should know. I am known to be a little obnoxiously optimistic. I'm very hopeful that the state will see this as a worthy project. I've been through the criteria and all of the checkpoints. I feel for scoring, we should score very highly with this project. Unfortunately, I don't know what the other 27 towns are putting in for. If I had to guess, if I was a betting person, I think we'll get something. The plan as it's presented here, bless you, presented here can be scaled down. There are definitely lots of ways that we can shrink things down, shrink the footprint, and still present a completed project. We do have to accept a lower amount, but I don't believe the state will give us something that where we can only do part of a playground. I think if they do that, they'll say, well, the playground's going to be $200,000, and they have X amount to put up to it. So I think that's kind of where we're going to be. Again, the MPP standard plan can be revised to support extra efforts there if we need to. But I would say for tonight's purposes, I am very hopeful that they'll at least give us $250,000, and we'll be in really good shape to present a completed park for the community to enjoy, as well as our visitors. You'll see behind me there's some pictures running through. This is preliminary renderings of what can be put in that location. The other point I'd like to mention is we have no inclusion equipment. Playgrounds now need to have inclusion pieces. There is a swing, it's called a sensory swing, which would be in that far corner up on the left. That allows free movement for a child that potentially can't sit inside a standard, can't sit themselves down in a standard swing. So that's a good start. Also, some of the equipment around the larger pieces of playground equipment give children the ability, especially sensory children with sensory issues, it'll give them the ability to also have inclusive play. It is not a fully inclusive playground. Those start around $500,000 to $600,000, unfortunately, but it's a good start in terms of getting things put into place that will help Keyport grow and develop. Successful applications will come with letters of support from the community. I've asked our mayor to write a letter. The MPP team will be also writing letters. I invite members of the community to write letters of support. If you're interested, I have paper up here with all the instructions on who you can address them to, the key points you should hit while you're drafting that letter, and my contact information. I am more than happy to help answer any questions or certainly get some feedback if you think there's something in the letter that you want to present. It's also an emotional appeal, so if you have a specific memory or time where you had at the park with your children, your friends visiting, include it. I think the more personal you are on this particular grant, the higher it will go with the state. Any questions from?
Is there any questions from the dais?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Nicole, are you going to be here just in case there's any questions from the public?
You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to go into committee reports. Councilmember Dennis.
Yes, ma'am. Reporting on the DPW, there, as I said last time, there's some restructuring going on there. Once that is fully complete, you'll be aware of who's where and where's who and all that good stuff. Doesn't stop the town from getting things done, however. There's a lot of stuff that's getting done here in town, and I'll give you an example. There was a lot
over behind Rollo's, which is a DPW lot. That was going to get fined by the DEP if we didn't move on it quickly, and we did, thanks to this mayor. We were able to get a lot of the cars and things out of there, and there's only 1 or 2 things left, and now we're going to be able to, you know, level that property over there. So there's some things that are going to be happening with the DPW that you'll be aware of, and once it's satisfied and solidified up here, you guys will have an idea of what's going on. The other thing I'd like to talk about is the KBBC, and I threw a wrench at John last time and said, what's the initials, but we know what the initials stand for. But, you know, I was in college coaching for 30 years, and recruiting was the lifeblood of your program, the lifeblood. So the KBBC, in my opinion, is the lifeblood of this town. And as they go, we go. And this past weekend, I wasn't able to be here, but I got back into town like around 6 o'clock, and this town was buzzing. Oh my God, I couldn't find a parking spot. That's good. That's good if you can't find a parking spot, because that means there's people in this town. Whether they're buying stuff or not, I don't know. But it's good that they're in this town. And the same thing on Sunday, they were all over the place. And that's all ethnic groups, all kinds of people were all over this town. Wonderful. That's beautiful. That's how it was when I grew up. There was people all over this place coming in this town. So a few things that the KBBC has done, okay, with their own budget, is they approved the pavers across the street, that they're going to repave that area. They're not going to do retaining walls, but they're going to do that out of their own budget, as well as the signs on 36 when you come off the parkway there. You're going to do those signs as well. Okay. The bathrooms here will be open. The KBC's taking that money out of their budget for events in town, like this past weekend was the Bay Fest. The bathrooms were open because the KBBC's budget allowed it to do that. You know, there's some wonderful things happened this past weekend, okay? The first thing was the Fire Museum. It was wonderful what happened. Then there was a ribbon cutting for a new pizza parlor in the corner here. That was wonderful, okay? So there's great things that are happening here. I don't know if you've been by the senior center lately, but that's all cleaned up, looks beautiful too. That's over there in East Keyport, okay? It's beautiful. There was an audit by the KBBC. They had a guy come in and do the audit. It was a very, very good audit for them. Okay? So there's a lot of buzz happening in Keyport. Let me just show you this magazine.
Chris, 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
It was the 2021 budget.
2021. This magazine here, Keyport, all over it. Let me tell you, Keyport got tentacles everywhere. It's got tentacles everywhere.
That's good.
Okay? Not only in the state, not only in this county, in this country, and in this world, Keyport's got tentacles everywhere. So this article here talks about what's happening in the town of Keyport. And there's great things happening here. I can attest to that because I grew up here, was born and raised. Okay, so there's great things happening. If you want to see this magazine, I'll leave it up here afterwards. You can come up and take a peek at it. But there's great things going on with the KBBC, and I just want to say all that stuff that we talked about, you know, is going to continue to grow here in town. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Riley?
Thank you, Mayor. The fire department has recently begun distributing the new Scott packs that were purchased last year to all companies and chiefs. The department would like to thank borough officials past and present for making this purchase possible. Marine 22, the fire department boat, has been placed in the water and is available for service. And this upcoming Saturday, May 20th at 4 p.m. in Fireman's Park, the department will be holding their annual inspection. They'll be presenting awards to members, including 70 years of service to ex-Chief Robert Poland. They will also be unveiling a monument for Chief Timothy Flaker, who died in the line of duty. All members of council and the public are invited to attend. And the department thanks everyone for their continued support. First aid, this year so far, they have responded to 458 calls. And the next environmental commission meeting isn't until next Monday, so I don't have anything to say.
Thank you. Councilmember Vecchia?
Thank you, Mayor. For Municipal Alliance, they are still planning to be a part of the new Red Raider date at the Keyport Central School Field, which is now Thursday, June 1st. This will either be by having the kids flying the kites at the event for their Get High on Life promotion, or by handing the kites out for use at another time for them. That decision is going to come down to what space is available during the event. It was also suggested that the Municipal Alliance work with the Senior Center and the school district to present a senior prom for the senior citizens with a prevention message included. Those details are still being worked on. For the police, this Thursday is the Police Week celebration that will take place at Borough Hall. The time is 4 to 8 p.m. and the event will include an award ceremony plus lots of stuff for the kids. Bounce houses, a DJ, face painting, and I know that my daughter cannot wait to meet the canine dog. That's definitely a top on her list. For Harbor Commission, the 2 kiosk displays that hold the events and the rules are being looked into for this season's displays. They have finally reached their limit as far as wear and tear at the waterfront, and we are looking to have them switched out with others that DPW might still have if they are in better condition, or we are possibly looking to partner with NPT if that is something that we can do in the future for new ones. We are still looking into options for the peeling paint on the railings along the waterfront. We're hoping to make a decision on that in the near future. Specifically, Bert and Nancy recently cleaned out the boathouse, and I just wanted to thank them for doing so. They sorted everything out. They're working with DPW now to have everything removed that can be removed. And I also wanted to thank Bert on another end. Bert, Fire Department, Scenic View, the Garden Club, and all others involved. Fireman's Park looks amazing, and it's just another example of our volunteers coming together to beautify our town. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor, one thing, with the KVBC, the light show that's going to be out here in our harbor, I did alert Melissa about, to alert the Harbor Commission that we're going to have a light show out here in the harbor, so I did alert her of that. Thank you.
That's in August, correct?
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio, you have a question. On the peel and paint, what exactly is that, the railings?
The railings where they fish and the poles, the paint is peeling, and it looks terrible, but it's a very hard process to actually get it taken care of, because they were looking into different options, because at one point it was just spray painted, you can't do that because of the water. But if you take them down and have them sandblasted somewhere else, then you have to have a replacement for while they're sandblasted, so they're just going over what options there are.
Kim, I have a question for that. So when we're going to repaint it, can we also get Monmouth County, the inmates, to do that also, to help?
Monmouth County might do the actual spraying if you need them to, because they have body shops. I'm not, I don't know if they would do that type of labor. I can look into it.
Just so we can find another way to do it. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Pepperoni?
Thank you. So for Board of Health, we collected $2,359. For the Union Beach Registrar, we collected $50. For Recreation, we didn't have a meeting. We didn't have enough members. And for construction, the 2nd Street, the old coat factory is moving along. I believe it's just about cleaned up, correct? And that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember McNamara?
Thank you. Finance and grants, the budget introduction is on the agenda for tonight. Under grants, March 1st, the borough had submitted for the Green Acres funding. There had been a presentation here. So we're now being recommended for $900,000 in funding for Fireman's Park. 25%, excuse me, 25% as a grant, and then the balance as a low-interest loan. In the past few weeks, CME has also submitted applications that are still pending for high water alarm system, funding for the police for distracted driving campaign, as well as DWI enforcement, and additionally stormwater mapping assistance. NPP, obviously the big topic is the resolution on the agenda and the presentation that was given tonight for the grant application. To give an update on Main Street lot, the striping should be done on or around May 30th, and banners should be in place that week or sooner. Kearney Street Pocket Park, there's work going on over there. The bricks are up, the railroad ties are coming out. Bench swings, I believe, were scheduled to arrive today, which is about 6 weeks ahead of time. So we'll continue to update you there. Cannabis, no updates at this time. Green Team is looking into grants for EV charging, pursuing action in the Wildlife Interaction Plan to increase awareness and education surrounding horseshoe crabs. Also interested in getting information out to the community at both Red Raiders Night and during the Keyport Garden Walk, as both opportunities would tie into actions on community education and outreach. And we're seeing if the action that is available around enhanced stormwater management is applicable. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor's update. May 4th, we had our first Juneteenth overview. The meeting was to discuss the date and time for the ceremony, which is going to be Saturday, June 17th at the mini park, 11 a.m. to 12:30. We actually had our second meeting this week also, and the second meeting where we've decided, who's doing what, and as more details come aboard, we'll let everybody know. May 6th, performed another wedding. They graciously donate to the Keyport Fire Department. May 9th, KBBC meeting. I was there with Councilmember Demarest, and I'd like to state on the record, thank you to the KBBC for all you're doing for Keyport. When asked if they're going to contribute to something in the town, paver, signage, etc., they're the first to say yes. The council should always take that into consideration when there are fees that they would like to charge the KBBC. As Councilmember Demarest mentioned, we're now featured in the Monmouth County Tourism brochure, and this came about from a municipal elected officials workshop that myself, Council President Davidson, Councilmember Riley, and Councilmember Vecchio attended. This workshop alerted us to opportunities that were out there for the municipalities to try and take advantage of for the borough. So thank you, Monmouth County, for including Keyport in the tourism booklet. Bayfest was phenomenal. I'd like to thank all of the KBBC for making it a success for Keyport. Melissa O'Connell, you did a fantastic job, as well as everyone that volunteered and supported the event, including DPW staff and our police department. They sold out of tickets and everyone was out and about throughout the town and in our businesses. Congratulations to Broad Street Diner for having the winning chili. We also did a ribbon cutting. Congratulations to Front Street Pizza for the grand opening on May 13th, and welcome to Keyport. I attended the Keyport Library Board meeting. The children's room flooded on April 30th due to heavy rains, and our DPW staff came out to help. Leslie and our library director worked together to remove the water. If you have not seen the library lately, the middle of the garden on the right side was cleared, and it looks great. I'd advise all to take a ride past, maybe stop in and see what's new at the library. Compost is being removed behind the library by our DPW, I believe this week, correct? Okay. There was a question of when the compost pile is removed, will the fence from the neighboring property fall down? So that's something that Kim is addressing. Council President Davidson has been working on a story walk on the Henry Hudson Trail, and it's approved by Monmouth County. The dates, length, and posts are to be confirmed. There was also a question as to the library levy that the borough pays, and when would they get their next payment. I talked to Tom Fallon. It's available after the budget's adopted, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. May 12th, attended the Bay Shore Mayor's meeting in Kingsburg. We discussed many topics, as many were shared services that we're talking about moving forward, and see how the other municipalities and ourselves can look to save on some services. Attended the presentation at the Keyport Fire Museum of the Remembrance Guitar to Tilly Geidel, daughter of the Fire Department New York Rescue 1 firefighter Gary Geidel. He was tragically killed on 9/11. Pete Ballou created the handmade guitar to her, and she just recently wrote a book, 9/11 Through a Daughter's Eyes, and I will donate that to the Keyport Library. May 13th, met with the American Legion, Ken and Ed, as well as invited Elmer Graham Jr. to attend with us. The purpose of the meeting is I have been trying to put together a Veterans Committee. The committee is going to see how to work with the borough as well as the American Legion to collaborate on some events that they can do and work with the KBBC to have a table at some of these events. They're having difficulty getting volunteers, which happens to be everywhere. It's not just them. The American Legion will participate with the table, and they'll have some information on suicidal awareness, mental health, and how to join the American Legion as a veteran. I did speak with Larry Vecchio of the KBDC and requested that we put that on the agenda to have them at May 29th, the American Legion will be holding the Memorial Day event. They do a presentation and a memorial at 5 cemeteries, 11 a.m. at the Keyport Library, following the Veterans Park, Post 23, Fireman's Park, and final at the waterfront to lay a wreath on the water. At that time, 12 o'clock, they're going to have it at half-staff, the flag, and they're going to raise it after 12. We were featured in New Jersey Thriving Towns on NJPBS. It was aired on April 22nd, and if it's not on the Borough Facebook page, it will be.
It's on the website.
It is. And that's all. Do we have any questions before we go into public comment from the dais? Is there anything they want to pull from the consent agenda?
Just a couple quick questions.
Councilwoman McCarron?
Resolution 156, the grant application for Second Street. I realize that's just the roadway, but are we also looking at the water and sewer lines under that like we did on Church Street at some point?
Yeah, we would do that in any project that we do moving forward.
Okay, and so it's the 899 and we already have 190?
I believe that's correct.
And then the employee handbook, which is awesome. I guess that was done by Labor Council, or is that?
It was me and the Labor Council and Vicki, yeah, we all did it together.
All jumped in, okay.
I think it's important that we have that finally.
That will bring us into compliance with the gym. Yeah.
And then I just wanted to add, I have no issue with it, but in case anybody has any questions on 167 about the Keyport Friends of the Library and the sidewalk sale, Zan had sent me some stuff, just in case anybody had any questions on that. And that's it.
Thank you. Okay, public comment portion, do we want to open to the public? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Okay. Anyone from the public? Larry?
Larry Vecchio, 55 West Front Street, Keyport. I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor and council for your support of our events, especially to our new business administrator who kind of got thrown some things at the last minute and did a great job, and our police chief who was very flexible with our last minute changes. So I want to thank everybody. Listen, turned out to be a great event, and it's a little bit of contribution from everybody, so thank you again. And a little good news, we got a commitment from the Monmouth County Department of Tourism. They're committed $5,000 to our events this year. They've already given us $2,000 for this previous event, and we'll have a balance of $3,000 coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Clyde Kennedy, 421 Atlantic Street. Good evening, everyone. This is just on the resolutions, right? Just one. Good evening over here as well. I concur with the appreciation of the employee handbook getting done. There's probably about 17 draft versions upstairs over the last 3 years that never got finished. But I do believe that we were out of compliance with JIF, and I agree. So thank you for making that finally come to fruition. I do have a couple questions about it, though. Will it be extended also to volunteers, appointed and elected officials as well, or just borough full-time employees?
There is a side handbook that will go for the officials, volunteers,
Okay, so when that's done, well, that'll get circulated, correct? So that, well, don't say, oh yeah, let's keep working.
yeah, protocol, it'll go.
The last 3 versions never got circulated, so I just want to make sure that that's on the radar. And does that include a social media component? And will that also be in the volunteer and elected and appointed officials as well?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Regarding the amendment of the meeting schedule for the rest of this year, At the bottom of the resolution, the wording is still the same from the beginning of the year, where it says items to be submitted for the agenda are 7 days prior. Which meeting schedule would that be? I just would suggest that there be if you'd want that in for the workshop meeting as your preference, I understand things could always be amended on the fly later, but my suggestion would be that you add the word workshop in there if that's what you prefer, so you guys could talk about it before that next meeting. That's it for the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mike?
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Couple issues. Regarding resolution 157 for the beach park improvements, couple of concerns. Not to be taken negative, but some residents in town live across the street from this park, have a lot of experience with the park. And some residents in town have a lot of experience with the waterfront. And council was given about the floodgates and they weren't going to work, but they were done anyway. I'm concerned that the residents across the street in the townhouses and the adjacent homes on First Street be involved in the planning for this improvement. I was heavily involved in the planning for the last park improvements, the elevation of the park, the elevation of the street, etc. So we have some background, but there's been no inclusion. I ask you to ensure inclusion, especially the townhouse people across the street who contribute probably assessed value of their properties over $6 million. The resident and that adjacent to Beach Park had to spend a lot of money in addition to their bulkhead work to put in a fence to keep the traffic off of their property. So again, it's very simple. Involve the immediate adjacent residents in the planning process and get their inputs. So I ask you to do that and make that a step in the process. Resolution 164, the KBC meetings. Right now, on any resolution that's passed, the public has an opportunity to comment on it. With these workshop meetings, will any resolutions be passed, and is the public going to be able to comment on the resolutions prior to their being voted on?
You're going to have comment, and we're not going to pass anything until the following meeting.
So there'll be no resolutions passed at the workshop meetings? They're all being in preparation?
Yes, this is an emergency.
Right.
Pardon?
If there's an emergency, Mr. Lane, like they do have to adopt a resolution, then there'll be public comment on that resolution if there is.
Super. It was really, I got emails from a couple residents in town regarding public meetings, and it was very educational, and it sort of made me scratch my head. How could we have had that 2-hour public meeting with the developer that resulted in the development agreement for 31 West Front? But that's a different issue. All right, well, that's good news to know that there will be opportunity for public input before any resolutions are passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else? Ben?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Danny Fotopoulos, 77A Beer Street. I forgot my glasses tonight, so it's going to be a little hard for me. No. Wrong glasses. The first question was, well, the only question is, can you explain 163 Lincoln Risk Management? Is that saving, in the words of Elmer Graham, how does that benefit the taxpayers of Keyport?
Yeah, sure, I can explain that. So what happens is they will be doing analysis throughout the year to see if getting out of the program that we're in currently will benefit the borough. The increases with the health insurance were a great impact this year. And then they will also guide us along with a lot of the different issues that we had, like not being compliant with the JIF. They will help walk us along, making sure that we are compliant.
Is the JIF currently the health insurance provider?
It is the state health plan.
It is the state health insurance, okay. Are there any other options besides the JIF?
Yes.
What else? Give me an example.
Well, there's multiple JIFs
Right.
that you could go into.
Okay, all right. I always thought there was only one JIF. Is it just Monmouth,
State JIF,
State?
Middlesex.
Okay, all right, and we can go into any one of those, right?
At a certain time, and you have to look at the risk and your experience. There's a lot.
I'm sorry, Mayor, it's okay if I'm conversing.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it, sorry.
No worries, no worries.
Well, I addressed you to.
You did, right, okay.
So, how much are we paying Lincoln Risk Management to do this, and how are they paid?
Through a voucher,
Okay,
and
taxpayer money, yeah. Which is fine, I'm not, right.
Yeah.
And how much?
15,000 for the year.
15? Seems reasonable. Okay. And when are we gonna see the report from them regarding,
Well, I meet with them I would be meeting with them quarterly, and we'll probably touch base monthly.
I have a personal problem with the JIF that we're using right now, if it's the same one that denied our fire chief's when he was injured on the job.
That's open. So
That's open litigation or whatever, right? So we can't talk about it, but I'm glad to see that we might be moving on from the current JIF that we're using right now.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. Paul Fisher, 166 Main Street. Regarding the Coke Factory, hey Ron, 162. Was there any reports done with hazardous materials or asbestos before that building got knocked down?
And would you know that?
I wouldn't have that information on me, but it's something that we could obtain from the building department. That also is an EPA, VEP, EDA grant for remediation.
Okay, yeah, because that's been going on for months now, and we can't sit on our front porch. It's been blowing over there. And another thing I think we should look into is they're actually using their property over there as a landfill. They're not filling dumpsters. They're digging holes and they're filling up with garbage.
So if you see anything being done in the course of the day, please call the police department and they'll go out there. If you just want to update me, you can email me and we will look into whatever it is.
Okay.
Here, my card is here if you want to take it. So you can leave it.
Anybody else on anything for the consent agenda only? John?
John Merla, 34 Broad Street. Regarding Resolution 163, this is without a doubt the biggest step I think this council has taken this year in a positive way. Mr. Patopoulos is 100% right. The old risk manager honestly should have made those recommendations to the borough. We wouldn't be in the position that we're in. And when I asked last year who the risk manager was, the borough administrator at that time didn't even know who it was. So now I think you have a business administrator that's meeting monthly, she just said, with the new. And the old risk manager, he got paid too. It wasn't that he didn't get paid. Now, I didn't want to bring this up now, but two people have about the Code Factory. Before a demo permit is issued, you have to have an asbestos test. Otherwise, you can't get a demo permit. That's just one thing. Second, I was there last night. Well, the guy was digging and loading off to the side, and what he's using is he's using a bucket, a rake bucket where it digs down. I have video that I could always share with the council and pictures. He was digging down probably 20 to 25 inches and loading and sifting the concrete from the dirt. They have a current application before the borough to remove a 250-gallon oil tank that's been on the property and was a problem for years. That was my biggest concern, the asbestos and the tank. So there is an application to remove the tank, which would clean the site, and the demo permit, if there was asbestos, should never have been issued, but I don't think they would have issued it until an on-site inspection was done. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Elmer?
Elmer J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Borough Council, Madam Administrator, Chief Torres. See, I didn't forget again. Evening, folks. Anyway, a couple things. Resolution 2023-159. Can you all more or less explain what that's about? 2023-159.
We belong to the CDBG program with the county. It allows us to apply for grants.
Oh, okay. And of course, that should benefit everyone in Keyport, so, all right. And resolution 2023-163, yeah. I definitely agree with that too. As long as it's beneficial to our borough taxpayers and everything, I definitely agree to that too. Well, Madam Mayor, and another thing is, for the Veterans Committee meeting, thank you for finally being able to meet with the leadership of American Legion Post 123, you know, and very productive meeting. We'll see what happens there. And plus, I applied to join it too, so, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We have a motion to close for the public?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolutions on the consent agenda, R 2023-154 through R 2023-170. Roll call.
Councilmember Demarest.
Yes.
Councilmember Riley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio.
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
And Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
We have a public hearing, adoption of the ordinance, ordinance 2023-3, revising the borough's bench program. Michelle, will you read the ordinance by title?
This is an ordinance of the Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, revising the Borough of Keyport's public bench sponsorship program.
Thank you. Do you have a motion to open to the public?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, do you have anybody that needs to speak on that from the public? Elmer?
Okay, and Elmer J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. I just have a simple question in regard to this. Can you all explain this? Why this ordinance?
After taking a look at what the borough is charging for the bench, we were paying much more for the bench than what people were paying for the bench. So it's just an offset, so it shouldn't be a burden on the taxpayer.
Oh, okay, so that's all that is. All right, okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Motion to close to the public?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Motion to adopt the ordinance? Second. Roll call, Michelle?
Councilmember Demarest.
Yes.
Councilmember Riley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio.
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
And Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance as adopted?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance 2023-4, amending the time to abate public health and safety violations. Shall we read the ordinance by title?
This is an ordinance of the Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 1 General, Article 5 General Penalty, Section 2 Building, Housing, Zoning, or Property Maintenance Penalty of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Keyport.
Thank you. Motion to open to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. John?
John Morella, 34 Broad Street. Applaud the administration with this ordinance, step in the right direction. Case in point, 162 Second Street, 17 years later, it's finally getting knocked down. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Colette?
Clyde Kennedy, 421 Atlantic Street. I just have a couple questions for you guys that you might want to consider. One is, it says in the wording that it's regarding fines that are $1,250 or more. What about ones that are under $1,250? There's no time frame in the ordinance for that. Also, I think 7 days might be a little too drastic. I think maybe compromise with 15. If someone goes away on vacation and it rains the day they leave and they can't cut their grass, and I'm not saying that that's the case with this property maintenance inspectors that we have, these I should say that we have two. But in the past, if you go Google Keyport and property maintenance, you bring up history of fights about property maintenance officers going after certain people in this municipality that goes back to 1984. So it's basically a 30-year issue of other property maintenance people, and we don't know how long the people that are employed now are going to stay, but this ordinance would then be on the books even if they weren't here. So I think 7 days is a little extreme from 30. I would ask that maybe even 15 be considered. Just as I said, people go on vacation. If it's raining, we just had this last week, the grass grew like crazy, right? Just from one rainstorm. So if someone's not able to cut it 1 week, I feel like someone could be targeted on that. And to Mr. Merla's point, 162, it was also one of the scattered site redevelopment properties that should have really come with condemnation because that was approved. But we had 138 properties on that. And now it's down to, I think, 17. So, but those have condemnation. You don't need to go after them with this type of ordinance. The other thing is that it says 7 days, but 7 days from when? Because that's been a continual issue recently, the last couple of years. And not because it's the borough's fault, but because of the change in the mail system. So, right, you know, we had a distribution center right across the street, but that's no longer a distribution center. So someone could mail it here. It could also take 5 days to get to someone still in Keyport, or to a landowner who might not live in Keyport. So I would suggest cleaning up the wording a little bit. I commend you for working on it, but I think maybe add a couple other stronger points to it. 7 days from when? 7 days from it being mailed, and is it postmark date, or is it certified date when it's signed for? Those type of things I think will help even more strengthen, I think, the goal of what's trying to be achieved. And then just the same thing, 7 days. If it's someone that has a home issue, right, that they can't even hire a contractor within 7 days. So I really just think that at least a 15 days should be considered if you're going to change it.
But it'd be 7 days, but it's at the discretion of the officer always. So it says 7 days, so we're talking more trash as well. So it is the discretion of the officer, which, yeah.
Right, but at which fine level, right? So it's only referencing $1,250 and higher. What about fines that are only $200? They have unlimited time. So I just think that this is the time, if we're going to look at the ordinance, to look at that entire paragraph and the what ifs in it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mike?
Mike Lane, 51 First Street. This ordinance focused on health and safety issues. What has stimulated the need for this ordinance? What is our record of health and safety issues?
I think what we're having, I'll answer part of it, and then Kim will answer the rest of it. What's happening is there's a lot of trash that's left outside of people's businesses as well as their homes for long periods of time, and we've been giving violations to these people, but we're not getting, 30 days. By the time, the 30 days comes, they have the whole month to keep their garbage out there, keep putting it out there the same way in bags, without being in a can, without being in a bucket. So it's looking terrible out there. And 30 days for them to continue to do it is way too long. And I'm sure the same thing if there is a violation of their grass too high. It's the same thing, 30 days to clean it up, the neighbors have to live with it for the 30 days. Kim and Mike.
Those sound like property maintenance issues. When I listen to the news from New York City, health and safety gets into lead paint, peeling, asbestos around old furnaces, asbestos around old heating pipes. When our code enforcement, when we issue a CO for a project for use of a dwelling, does our inspector go in and inspect for peeling paint, go in and inspect for asbestos on the pipes, go in and inspect for furnaces coated with asbestos? These are health and safety issues, real health and safety issues. So is that going to be part of our routine? Is that part of our routine?
No, I mean, I think that's a different situation. If you apply for a permit and we're looking for those issues, you'll be looking for these issues. This was intended to address, as the mayor stated, and was brought to the attention of this administration, that there was a need to deal with like an outside cleanup. And as the, the fact that it deals with situations where the fines are greater than $12.50, we're talking about significant issues, and you want to give them, if it's going to be a $12.50 or more type fine, you want 7 days, because it's probably gotten to a point of beyond no return, and something has to be done quickly. And that's why we're talking about a certain issue. We're not talking about going in, doing an inspection, and we see something else. Obviously, a construction official does have inherent discretion on a lot of things when they're performing their jobs and duties. But that's not what this is about.
When our official issues a CO, he goes into the dwelling and inspects it. He inspects that there's a fire alarm system, et cetera, et cetera. He should be observing whether the paint is peeling.
This is not the section, but if they do see stuff like that, Mr. Lee, they have inherent authority to handle those issues. They won't issue a CO because there's a health and safety concern. Health and safety has a huge umbrella.
So we're only talking trash.
No, it's not only trash, it's the property, the outside of people's properties also. It's the same thing, like John was saying about the coat factory for 17 years. It's been an issue, and, we've sent violations to them over and over, and they have 30 days to fix something, and nothing gets done. So now it's at 7 days. Can you take them to court now for that? Yeah.
Well,
they can issue it.
They can issue it to go to court.
I look forward to seeing the response to my Oprah request for the inspection for asbestos at that site. Because we had the same problem on Manchester.
Yeah.
In spades. And so I certainly hope that there's an inspection that validated that all the asbestos was removed before this demolition work started, before we buried all this stuff on 2nd Street, because it wasn't done, it needs to be shut down immediately.
Mike, when you say buried stuff, what do you mean buried? They're burying it under the ground?
Yes. They have a scoop. They scoop up, and then they put the stuff in the ground and put the dirt over top.
That's not true.
I was never informed that that was happening, so I wouldn't know to look into it.
So can we look into that?
I think you heard testimony, was that from you, John, that was what was going
No,
on?
not just the opposite.
I'm sorry.
Just the opposite.
What, they're not burying the stuff on the site?
I was there last night, I shot a video.
100% there.
Okay.
They got it.
Mike,
I got video.
okay. We can talk about that after. Can you look into it, please? Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, we have a motion to close. Okay.
Are we committed to it tonight?
Yes, that's what I was just going to ask.
I personally have an issue with 7 days. I just think it's unreasonable. I know myself, if somebody gave me a notice on Saturday and said it had to be done by the next Saturday, I might be away, I might be working every day till then. I just think it's really unreasonable. And I'm trying to find where there's a list of fines, and it sounds like there's a certain amount of this that can be very subjective, which makes me a little bit nervous too.
Anybody
Just
else?
for clarification, from my own, the 7 days is for a problem that's so bad that it's $1,250 worth of fee. It's not just Joe Schmo left the banana
It's not
peel
like
out
if-
front of the town.
It's not if you, it's not if you let your garbage cans out and your kids didn't clean up, like we're trying to make sure your kids are taking the garbage in like they're supposed to, and we're leaving it out there and not yelling at them.
What would be an example of,
That wouldn't do it.
what would be an example of a $1,250 fine?
It would be something very significant, like, construction debris being left outside, or even like someone leaving garbage. There could be other people who leave their garbage
So they
out.
wouldn't be shut suddenly, it's not
It's
like
not
they're
like-
receiving this fine and they're saying, oh my God, I never knew there was a problem. This is just, oh my God, you better act on this because you ignored it for this long.
Significant, use the word property maintenance issue, that will be significant.
Health risk.
Like rats, it's something Mr. Lane was talking about.
Is there a process with warnings prior to this?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to research that and I didn't
Oh,
see
yeah.
anything in our code.
Construction code,
This is like the last.
It's
You have to
under
remember,
the-
it's up to the discretion of the officer. First what happens is if you're talking code violations, you don't get a summons right away, you get a violation.
and they
Yeah,
come there,
door knockers, that's exactly
they'll
right.
come there and inspect, and they'll tell you this is what you have to do.
And that's not part of the 7 day?
This is after you got to a point of someone like, unless there's something very significant out there, that's like radioactive waste is being left outside. I mean, I don't even know if 7 days
And
is going
so
on.
when you get the door knocker, if you're not able to mitigate the problem, there's information on it to contact the office and ask for an extension. So it's not disallowing anyone additional time within reason if there is a problem.
This is really intended to give your construction officers discretion after they've pretty much tried a lot of ways to address an issue, to have the ability to address it.
I guess for me, I would just want it to be that specific in the language, because as a person reading it,
The construction.
I'm worried that it could be used wrong against somebody. That's with that.
They could always plead not guilty. That's the proper process.
Do you have any other questions? Okay, do you have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Oh,
Second.
Roll call, Michelle?
Councilmember Demarest.
Yes.
Councilmember Riley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio.
Yes.
And Councilmember Pepperoni.
yes.
And Councilmember McNamara.
No.
Thank you.
Do you have a motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance as adopted?
Oh,
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The introduction of ordinance COLA rate ordinance. Michelle, will you read the title, the ordinance by title?
This is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank in NJSA 40A:4-45.14.
Thank you. Need a motion to introduce? Second.
Second.
Roll call, Michelle?
Councilmember Demarest.
Yes.
Councilmember Riley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio.
Yes.
And Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
And Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press for a public hearing.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We have an ordinance establishing a community garden. Michelle, will you read the ordinance by title?
This is an ordinance establishing a community garden within the borough of Keyport.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to introduce?
Motion.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Demarest.
Yes.
Councilmember Riley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio.
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
And Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press for a public hearing?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Introduction of the 2023 municipal budget, resolution R 2023-171, introducing the 2023 budget. Michelle, will you read the budget by title?
This is the municipal budget of the Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, New Jersey for the year 2023.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Demarest.
Yes.
Councilmember Riley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio.
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion authorizing the clerk to publish the budget. Summary is introduced for the public hearing to be held June 20th, 2023.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have the minutes for approval, March 2021, March 21, 2023, regular meeting minutes, tabled from May 2nd and April 4th, 2023, regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need to abstain from the March 21st.
Thank you. All in favor? That's dessert time. Reports, municipal clerk's report for April 2023, tax, water, sewer collector's report for April 2023, Board of Health treasurer's report for April 2023, building department report for April 2023, municipal court report April 2023. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have any days updates? Kim?
Nothing too much. I've been working on the personnel policy, so that's been a majority of the time that I've been spending. Had a few union meetings. We had a few outstanding grievances that I'm handling. The DPW, we've interviewed seasonal workers and the one position that was open. 15-mile-per-hour signs were installed for speed. They also repaired 2 gooseneck light poles that are now working over at the fishing pier. They've been working on different lights. There was a couple of lights that were damaged in accidents that we're waiting on quotes. And we also have lights that are ordered. We also had a company come out to give us a quote for sifting the sand at the beach to make it more presentable and enjoyable for the public. And then there were 2 water main breaks in the past couple weeks.
I have one question. On Monmouth County, the 4-way stop for, was it Atlantic and First, that one's
Approved.
That
It
was,
was, right, that one was approved and the one on Second wasn't, I think it was. I would have to.
second was approved.
Second was
First
approved.
was not approved.
First was not approved,
Okay.
yeah.
So I just wanted everybody to
Yeah,
know
that information just came. in the
We just
mail.
got that 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Chief, do you have anything?
Yes, briefly. Calls for service for May 1st through May 15th, 573 calls, 125 motor vehicle stops, 81 summons issued, and 19 parking summons. Police Week will be celebrated in Keyport, May 18th at 4 p.m. I brought some flyers if anybody would like. We'd love to see you out there to meet and greet our officers, from the older ones who have been here a while. If you're new to town, we'd love to see your face. And from the newer ones who you don't know yet, we'd love for you to come by and say hello. Lastly,
But Chief, is the road going to be closed?
road will be closed between Main and Beers for between 4 and 8 p.m. Flyers were distributed to all the businesses. I personally handed them out, spoke to all the business owners of town, as well as we have it on our website and Facebook. Quick press release that will be out. I just like to read it here because it's important in case somebody doesn't read the paper. On 4/12/2023, Keyport Police Detective Bureau was made aware of an aggravated assault which occurred at a local bar restaurant in Keyport through a social media post. The victim was assaulted by 2 members of a pagan outlaw motorcycle gang and 1 member of the Thug Riders motorcycle gang. The victim was assaulted by Carlo Montalvo, who was affiliated with a 1% motorcycle club. He assaulted him with a prohibited weapon. Detective Quirk was able to identify the suspect through a detailed investigation and surveillance video. On 5/2/2023, Detectives Quirk and Doucette joined the U.S. Marshal Service, Kingsburg Detectives, New Jersey State Police, and Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office, and served a warrant on Montalvo at his residence in Kingsburg. He was taken into custody and transported to Keyport Police Department. Montalvo was charged with aggravated assault with a weapon, unlawful possession of a weapon, and prohibited weapons and devices. He was transported to Monmouth County Correctional Institution. Just to note some of these things that don't always go on, we do have like the police blotter once in a while. We'll put these things. It should be noted everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but we do put stuff in the police blotter. Just be mindful that we will not tolerate this type of behavior. Please contact us. Our residents and our business owners are very near and dear and important to our police department. So we just want to let you know some things that go on because we will not tolerate this kind of behavior in town. So thank you.
Thank you.
Nice go.
Michelle?
Just briefly, Mayor, I just want to remind everyone June 6th is the primary election, and just want to mention anyone that votes for District 1, the polling location, Eagle Hose, has changed. The new polling location will be the Keyport Madawan Elks on Broadway, and I'll be updating the Borough webpage with all election information this week. So you can look for that.
Okay. Do you need a motion to open to the public?
Mayor?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot you. You're so quiet over there.
Just real quick, because I was gonna mention the water main breaks that Kim brought up. But New Jersey Natural Gas is continuing their work on Church Street. We've been by a number of times, and they've been doing a decent job. It seems like keeping a very clean site, maintaining access to the residents there. But if that's not true, we haven't heard differently, but we'd certainly address it if it's not. It should be about a week and a half to be completed out there. And then also, two other minor things. The Second Street lighting, we're looking into that and to JCP and out to get some additional street lights out there in the areas where it's dark as you get close to Union Beach. They have an application process, so we're doing that. And we've
So what is the process for that? They have to come out and evaluate the area?
Yeah, there's some documents you have to submit to them and stuff,
Okay.
and costs and stuff like that. But we're working through that. We'll get them everything they need so that they can get those out there.
Okay.
And then we've been talking with Kim about some potential projects on Chandler Avenue. At First Street, we're working on some construction cost estimates so we can begin budgeting for those.
Okay.
We should have those early next week.
Thank you. I also, before we go into public comment, I wanted to introduce, if no one knows, Tom Fallon, our CFO. He's here for the introduction of the budget, so.
I am here. I prepared a few brief remarks. I know you already introduced it, if you'd like me to
Yes.
to say them. And that's just the introduction, so generally be brief here. I won't be as long as Nicole, or as good, but I do have a few brief remarks.
Yes, thank you.
So the assembling of the 23 budget was a collaborative effort of the administrator, myself, and the finance committee, acting as a conduit to the governing body. The budget was distributed to the governing body a few weeks ago for your review and comment. It reflects the policies of the current administration and governing body, as well as those approved and put in place by prior administrations. The budget provides the necessary funding for all municipal services and for continued investment in the borough's infrastructure. The borough experienced budgetary pressures and increases in appropriations for contractual salaries and wages, pension benefits, group health insurance, liability and workers' comp insurance, and legal costs necessary for ongoing litigation. Even with these budgetary pressures, the borough has done a good job controlling total operating costs, including salary and wages and other expenses, with the proposed budget showing a marginal increase of 3.7% from 8.1 million to 8.4 million. The budget is both appropriation cap and 2% levy cap compliant. So although the proposed budget has an increase in the amount to be raised by taxation, it would reduce the municipal tax rate by 5.4 cents from 8.41 cents to 0.787. I'm sorry.
You said that on purpose, Tom.
No, you know what? It's on silent. It's just one of my kids, and I have them not on silent, and they should have been. I apologize. But so the budget would be reduced, or the tax rate would go down by 5.4 cents from 0.841 to 0.787 per $100 in assessed valuation, due to an increase in the borough's net valuation taxable in 2023. So after introduction of the budget, which you've already done, the budget will be published in summary and posted in full on the borough's website, as required by state statute, with a public hearing to be held on June 20th, which will be the time for any questions or comments from the public.
Great, and you'll be here on Tuesday.
Of course, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do you have a motion to open the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody? Danny?
Dennis Fotopoulos, address on record, I guess, right? Did you skip over new business and unfinished business on purpose, or did I miss it?
We didn't have anything right now because our borough administrator, she's actually going to have a whole list of unfinished business. She's just working on it.
Okay. The Church Street project, are they gonna repave the whole road, or are they gonna just do half?
No, and Derek, you could speak on that.
Yeah, the Church Street repaving is curb to curb on both sides. It's the full width of the road.
Okay. Finally, I was remiss, I didn't congratulate Nicole and the MPP committee for all of the fine work that they've been doing for the last few years.
Actually, Nicole.
Yeah. I can't think of anybody, present company included, that's more organized than Nicole Heng. I did want to address, because there seems to be some question, the issue on Second Street. I didn't hear, and now I'm hearing, there was no asbestos inspection prior to this?
I don't
prior
think
to
we said that. We didn't say
I
that.
know.
She's gonna check into everything and, we'll get the information out.
What is the I mean, if the building obviously, so back in the 30s, half the building burned. And then it was rebuilt. Actually, it was 1944. I'm sorry. It was built in the 30s. In 1944, it burned. They actually thought it was sabotage because they were making coats for the war effort. So the FBI got involved. A little bit of history there. It's full of asbestos, I would think, unless somewhere along the line it was mitigated. Now, just so I know, and from an environmental perspective, what is it? The dust is blowing everywhere. It's blowing onto the house next door. It's blowing, it's blowing over to Lincoln Hose, and there is buried debris on the property. There definitely is buried debris on the property. There's concrete buried into the property itself. If we find that it is asbestos, and I know you want to cross this bridge when it comes, but if we find out it is, Mayor, what do we do about it?
Yeah, we have to address that if it is, but Kim's gonna jump right on this. And would Derek be involved in this?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the DEP involved?
They should be.
They already are involved.
They are,
in this
okay.
They're involved as a Brownsfield, right?
Yeah, the cleanup, so we can get them to come out and assist as well.
But the Brownsfield, that's an entirely different issue than.
Yeah, but I have connections with the EPA and EPA because of the grant, EPA as well.
Okay, all right. What's the time frame?
Well,
I just learned about this now, so
Yeah,
I,
this is,
I
yeah.
look into
So
it.
at the next meeting, at the next council meeting, we should have an answer on it, but she's gonna jump on it.
Can we put a moratorium, can we have a stop work order so they're not spreading dust around anymore? Especially if
Someone
there's,
has the answer somewhere, right?
What?
yeah, right?
Someone has the answer somewhere. No, I'm saying to,
Yeah.
before we would
In
put a
order
stop
for them
order,
to take
someone
it
must
down,
know the
they
answer
have to.
to it.
Can you look into that, please? Thank you.
It's just right, unfair right now. No one has the information to answer your question. But I think everyone agrees, based on the information brought to their attention tonight, it will be looked into.
Immediately.
Action will be taken in accordance with all the state laws, policies, regulations.
And just so, for the record,
But
I
it'll
was,
be enough.
this was never brought up to me before.
Right,
Right,
this is
I
the
got it,
first
I
one.
understand, I understand.
But here you
They even, I think they started tearing it down before you started, am I right? I think.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
May I address Councilwoman Vecchio?
Sure.
Councilwoman Vecchio, just to piggyback on what you just said, wouldn't it be prudent and safe to stop or to put a stop order on it and then
But I'm
investigate it,
just
take a
saying,
day?
I think even to demo something, that's part of the demo. So I'm saying just because we up here might not have the answer, it might lie with the construction. Whoever issued the permit might have that answer. That's all I'm saying. Like, maybe it's something that we can get
So we can't
by
put
So tomorrow morning,
Yes.
right, so tomorrow morning we get it and if there's
Oh,
any
if you
doubt,
have an issue, we
Legally,
will
it
have
has
to
to
be
be
stopped.
There is an
Okay.
issue.
We're gonna follow the legal processes.
which is,
There's a process by which the construction code will get involved. We're all talking, we're very speculative, this is really inappropriate for any council member to have an opinion, because if there is a legal process, and one of these people say something that could be used by the property owner against the town,
oh, I
that they
understand,
prejudge
okay.
it. So
So-
that's the only reason I'm jumping in. Information's been brought to their attention, it's been brought to the VA, they will investigate it.
So Attorney Flynn, my concern is with this, let me finish. My concern is with the surrounding neighbors. So if it's found out tomorrow morning, I'm asking as attorney, is it legal if we can't find any record of
I'm
this?
gonna respond to information that I have in front of me, and I don't have. I'm not gonna speculate, I'm not gonna
Understood.
prejudge.
Thank you.
And if the neighbors did see this, sir, I'm assuming they would have contacted someone before someone, are you one of their neighbors? I'm sorry. Did you see something going
No, I walk.
Okay. Look, I'm assuming-
There's a rut that I made in Second Street for walking there, so.
But I'm assuming if someone sees something, someone should say something, and it will be investigated.
But we can't answer it right now. That's
Understood.
what she's
Thank
saying.
you
Thank
so
you.
much.
John?
John Morella, 34 Broad Street, just as a follow-up. There was a court order to knock that building down and clean it up. So that's on record. Our municipal judge issued it 4 meetings ago in court. There has to be a contract too between the contractor and the seller, the owner of that property. And you don't need to dig a lot. I mean, not the worst, not the best wording, but Lou Granada represents the seller. So, I mean, there's got to be a contract for what they went out to bid for. And in the contract, it might say remove all asbestos. Way to look at it. I wanted to talk to council a little bit about, I attended a school board meeting last week. And years ago, the council had a liaison, who was a liaison between the council and the school. Mayor, I really think you should consider that. I'm not saying consider it now, but sometime, because the part of the meeting was very embarrassing for the borough of Keyport. And yourself, you were there, Councilman Demers was there, and other members of the public. I'm not saying the whole meeting, but in talking to one of the board members today, she told me that no one ever goes to the meetings. And, you know, I know sometimes people ask council members and mayor, you know, what's going on, and I heard something at the school. So maybe it's time to at least revisit that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, last night was a very informative meeting regarding East 3rd and 3rd Street paving. Just so happens the same contractor that was awarded that contract also did Church Street. Now, we all know Church Street was not, one of the best projects in the borough that we've had. We had a gas company, we had the contractor, there were some major errors. And I said to CME last night in front of the residents that live in that area, that we need to watch. We really need to watch that very good, and we need to make sure that the officials, the administrator says she's been in contact with the gas company and that, you know, things are done right. But that street, there was a lot of concerns because there's flooding by the VFW by Waverly, and you know, they think they know what they're doing to fix that. But my concern is it's the same contractor that just did work on Church Street and really didn't live up to what they were bidding on. And we all know that, otherwise they wouldn't be back there doing it over again. So we should keep really a close eye as far as our professionals. Yeah, they're doing it over again.
No, I know, but I thought that was because of the gas.
Well, the water lines that were, 8 water lines that went in from the borough street into people's homes, the sub-base went down, and the sub-base went down, usually it's 90 days. The sub-base went down and we paved 48 days later, so it never settled. The valve insertions and all the new water lines never had a chance to settle. And then the paving was done, and then the ripples came into the road. It's the same thing that happened years ago on 3rd Street.
I never heard that reported.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sign off on a pay cert that if it wasn't being done correctly. I personally go, when there's projects being done, I'll go out there, visit, I'll make sure that the inspector on record goes out and reports to me. I do mandatory pre-construction meetings, and all the utility companies, they must come. We go over the plans in depth. It's not that we just sit and talk. We actually go through the actual plans of the project. We look at the grading, we look at everything, and I make sure that final paving is done at the appropriate time.
Right. I just don't want to be in a position, the borough shouldn't want to be in a position 2 years from now, whereas they say the gas lines, you know, were inspected as they did on Church Street on East 3rd, and they're all good. And then months later, I smell gas, and now the street's ripped up, and we start over again.
Can you also get an update for me on Church Street where the laterals, are they going back out?
They're actually out there now.
Or where they're cracking, right?
Oh, for the settling of the, so, yeah, we're actually keeping an eye on that right now.
And one of the things they did make during that presentation, I thought was very good, the 24-inch water, stormwater pipes are probably at least 90% clogged, so that's where they think a lot of the floodings that's taking place on 3rd and Waverly, and they feel that this can rectify that. The other thing I wanted to add was the new construction down on 1st and Walnut. I really think it's coming along very nice. The only concern I would have, they're brand new sidewalks and they're full of rust, like already. I mean, something's not right. Is that groundwater? Is it something can't be right? Is that your job or CME?
I'll give Eric.
I'll go take a look at it.
And the last item, I usually don't do this, but I gotta give Pep here a little shout out. His daughter's softball team, what a great game today. Great game, your daughter did a great job and you should be very proud. And good luck on the championship.
Anybody else?
Thanks, Bill.
Nancy Carew, 64 Broadway. I'm up representing the Keyport Garden Club, and I want to thank everybody that came out to help us, to support us at our sale at the First Street Firehouse. We're thanking the firehouse, the fire department for allowing us to use that house, and we left it in very good condition, I hope. I hope they're satisfied with that. And also I have a question for MVP. the labyrinth, the brick labyrinth, is that going to continue to stay on that site?
That is not my determination to make. And I'm going to give that back to Kim, who I believe has been in conversations with the Art Society. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm meeting with them and we're.
Okay, so there is no decision on that just yet.
Well, the labyrinth itself, we have to take it up because, it's not compliant, it's not ADA compliant, and it was already up.
Okay, well,
And
it's
to
just,
and also to maintain it, it's very difficult for a DPW because of the weeding that comes in between each brick.
okay, well, I just wanted to point out that that was one of those activities during COVID that a lot of participants, including surrounding towns, actually thanked the Art Society for allowing an activity that could be presented under the lockdown situation.
May I just add one thing? I will, when we finalize this grant, make mention that that was a wonderful community-based event that took place and did raise spirits during a very dark time. So it will live on forever, whatever happens, as one of the greater community events that took place in the borough during that.
Okay, well, thank you.
Actually, Nicole, I'd also like you to let county know, because they're doing a COVID, like an archive.
Yes.
That would be really nice to have that included as an archive.
If you could send me some of the, like, I'm sure you have much better pictures of it when it was first done, when it was in pristine condition. Yeah, send those to me, I'm certainly happy to facilitate that.
Yeah, because
Okay,
they're going to create this archive that in case someone has to look back on something from 20 years ago, or, from what happened.
And as a location in the MPP zone, it's certainly something we can archive as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so what will we be doing with those bricks if they have to be removed?
Kim is going to be meeting with the Art Society.
And you guys will discuss how that'll be distributed or...
Yeah, or repurposed or something, yeah.
Also, I want to ask about the cleanup at the senior center. Those bricks that were in a rubble pile along the sidewalks were reclaimed from the beach. That was done, it was as a donation, and that was work done by the KGC. And I was just wondering, did those rubble bricks get thrown out? They're at the light? No, that's full pavement. The rubble brick is a reclaim from the beach that were pieces of...
They might have thrown it out.
I'm not aware. I know that there was brick that went over to the library.
Okay, because at the last minute, my husband and I...
If you contact me during the day, I'm here every day, it's probably the easiest way for me to look into something immediately.
Okay, so you can look into that if it's now been crushed up and used for, underlayment on a road or whatever.
I think the cleanup at the senior building looks wonderful. I think that they did a great job.
And it'll continue to get better, yeah. Working on it.
Well, it's as long as the director's involved with it. And she has requested it, or was this a request by the property maintenance?
You're working with the senior center, right?
Yeah. Okay, so that was Madeline? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Fisher, 166 Second Street. I do have an email regarding the old Coke factory from Michelle Clark from yesterday, saying that an asbestos report does not exist. So it's been going on 2.5 months, and I hear the peanut gallery over here keeps saying asbestos. I worked on the World Trade Center on the bio. Then I worked downtown for 2 months. I go every year to Robin Wood, hoping I don't have hazardous asbestos, cancer. So I hear the peanut gallery saying turn the bricks into, it's emotional to me. My son's girlfriend is pregnant right now. We can't sit on our front porch. It's 2.5 months. They're not raking bricks. They're digging holes. You can sit over there for an hour and watch them rake. They're digging holes and they're dropping all the garbage in there. It needs to be looked into, and I'm very concerned about it.
Thank you. Mike?
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. Did I hear that the county will not approve a four-way stop on First Street?
Yeah, actually, I have the letter in front of me. I just received it. So, to address your request, I'm going to read it to you so you can hear the whole thing. I directed the county engineer's office to evaluate the intersections along the county roads listed in the ordinance to determine if multi-way stop control would meet the appropriate engineering and safety standards. I recently communicated with my engineers to review their findings. I'm pleased to report that multi-way stops will be implemented at 2 intersections listed below. The 2 intersections are County Road 516, Green Grove Avenue and 2nd Street, County Route 516, Green Grove Avenue and 3rd. The remaining county intersections listed in your ordinance did not satisfy the engineering standards for multi-way stop control. However, to ensure these intersections are operating safely, they have directed the county's traffic safety unit to inspect and replace existing traffic control signs and pavement markings at each intersection if needed. That's it.
So do we know what criteria has to be met in order to have the four-way stop?
I don't know, we just received this letter, so we will find out, but
And
I just received it.
I don't know whether they took into account the tremendous amount of traffic at that intersection that's generated by the Keyport Yacht Club on race weeks, on night events, children going to sailing classes, and how does the county evaluate all that? And now, just building on that, pedestrian safety improvement program, I think it's been 6 years now that we've been waiting for the crosswalks and the curb cuts on First Street. What's the schedule?
Actually, I spoke
The
yesterday
tapper?
with, yeah, can you
Pardon?
speak with Trevor on that? Because he did say that he had a little update on it.
Okay, sure. I'll speak to the engineer handling that. I know that it went into another phase. It was only in the first phase, now it's in the second phase of design.
Interesting. The amount of money we spend on the design without any paint on the road. On communications, there's been 2 communications from the Keyport Planning Board to Council that have not shown up at any communications information. One has to do with the need to make changes in the land use requirements for density in residential areas and for parking in the downtown. And the second had to do with the planning board evaluated the request that was sent from the council relative to does the change in zoning on block 94 lot 18 impact, is that in alignment with the master plan? And the planning board found it was, but none of it is showing up in communications to the council. Why? For years, that kind of communications showed up on the agendas. Why has it disappeared?
This was shared with the mayor and council. The clerk did send it out as requested, so they do have the communication.
So why can't the public know that communications existed?
Can you address the communication portion on the
Okay,
agenda?
yeah, so last time we talked about this a little bit. The communications portion of the agenda, when people put letters like that on the agenda, and then the council would take action to approve it, there became this impression that that was an actual approval of something that led to just at our last meeting, 2 items of cleanup that we had to do, maybe not on the agenda, but in a personnel matter. So we're removing from the communications section of this agenda things that are approved, because I don't want there to be created this situation that it creates a legal rights for someone.
We have some litigation that's going on now.
And
because of that.
so what we're gonna do is, but, to your point, if the planning board does send over, you know, a copy of an action that they took that says, I need you to now update your code or whatnot based on our planning board examination, then what you will see in full transparency will be some type of action taken to change a zoning ordinance, to do something, and it will be by way of resolution. That is how this governing body acts. That's how they speak. They speak by resolution. Unfortunately, that communication section was being used as a way to allocate some type of legal rights and statuses, which it shouldn't have been. The only type of legal action that's taken here in a way that can be used for or against the borough is by resolution.
But the communication does not have anything to do with resolutions. The communication has to do with new ordinances that were introduced.
If there's an
And we introduced bench ordinances as a higher priority than fixing the land use requirements?
I don't think that's what that's intended to mean. That was something that had to be done. I don't think anyone's ignoring the planning board in an intentional, purposeful way by introducing the bench ordinance, Mr. Lane.
But the planning board letter is from February of this year,
Okay.
way before the bench ordinance.
Okay, but it's not first in, first action taken. I mean, it needs to be evaluated. Since February, as you know, there was a new BA. She's getting up to speed on things that require certain action. I mean, if the planning board said we needed to immediately take action on some stop sign or something, I don't know what they would take action. But we will, the fact that it's not on the agenda doesn't mean it's any less or more important than the bench. I wouldn't consider those two.
It's interesting. We have cases coming up in the month that if this ordinance was in place, it would be impacting.
And I'm sure, Mr. Lane, if the planning board or if they thought, and their lawyer has my phone number, if they thought this had to be done right away, we would get it done right away. Absolutely, Mr. Lane. So I haven't received that communication from anyone. I haven't been instructed by anyone that works with the planning board that, you know, the Borough Council has to better jump on this ordinance. And if they did, I would.
Unfortunately, Councilwoman Davidson is not here.
Yeah, I know.
And she was at the meetings, can be given that input. One other item, I've been looking at the borough website, and I failed to find the new floodplain development permit application form. Is that a failure on my part?
No, I don't think we have it on there, right there.
I don't know if it's on the website or not.
And my answer is why not?
Should be, right?
Can we look into it?
We'll look into it.
And in alignment with that, have we, giving the multiple projects in town that are in the special flood hazard area, have we alerted them to the fact that they need to do this process of filling out the application form that's not yet posted?
The projects I'm aware of, yes, I've submitted it, I've sent it to the developer.
All right, so you got 31 West Front, you've got Browns Point Marina, you've got Mariners Village, there's a half dozen projects.
Yeah, I get all the ones off the top of my head, I can't name them all, but I know 31 is one of them.
Right, so you have notified those half dozen projects.
Off the top of my head, I'm not gonna say everybody, but yes. The ones I know about and that are active, I've notified.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Colette?
Oops. Colette Kennedy, 421 Atlantic Street. Hello again. I'm making up for not being here for so many months. I think I make it all up in one meeting. A couple questions or feedback, whichever one you want it to be. Sorry. Couple things, it was mentioned that there is no ADA compliant swing in Keyport. There is one in Benjamin Terry Park. We actually fought and advocated for that for 4 years. However, I will point out that I would not suggest that swing. So hopefully they have a different model that they can go with, because that one is not as user-friendly as I think it should be, and I had asked for that to be replaced, and that didn't happen. But if you don't even have a child in your hand, you can't open that swing. Never mind if you have someone that might need an accommodating swing. So I would just look at the swing that's in Benjamin Terry that was put in for, the ADA compliance, because I would not recommend that model. In regards to the black paint on the railings, that was not spray painted last time. We actually hired someone, the resident lived on First Street, and that was his entire project, working for DPW, was to repaint those railings. With some back history on those railings, the ones that the paint is chipping on are all the railings that washed up during Sandy and washed off, came off. So they all had to be taken out, which ones were remaining. The ones that the paint is chipping on, I advocated many times that that should have been under warranty, but that was never heard. So I do believe that those are faulty railings. So there's that factor as well. But the railings that it's happening on were all missing after Sandy, and they were able to put up fencing to block it off. So sections can be taken off and removed. But the person that did it for DPW and painted the black railings, he was trying to do it from Waterside. It was definitely not an easy project. So if you want more information on that, you can reach out to me and I'll give it to you on how that was all completed. But obviously it's all chipped again. So it's not the right paint that's being used to begin with from either the manufacturer or maintenance afterwards.
Thank you.
In regards to, I know we're saying that for communications, how it was guided in the past was resignations could be done for receive and file, but for hiring it had to be done. That's what we were guided. But wrong or right, either way, there's not a resolution or a communication yet regarding the resignation of one of the environmental commission members at the beginning of the year that was appointed on January 1st. So he was replaced, but a resignation hasn't been noted anywhere. So I think that needs to just get cleaned up. Couple project update questions, or if you could provide feedback at the next meeting. The Broad Street repaving project, we were very fortunate that county came in and repaved Broad Street. That was the first county road being repaved in Keyport in about a quarter of a century. But there was a last minute scramble. I'm not even gonna get into why that was a last minute scramble. But there was about how they were going to restripe Broad Street from 3rd Street to West Front Street. And I don't believe that I know it hasn't been closed out yet, I know that, but I don't know that anyone's even aware that it still has steps that have to be finished, including, the yellow line in front of Old Glory by the new crosswalk that was put in. That wasn't.
Actually, she's already out
Okay.
of it and she's working on it.
Okay, and also the pedestrian flashing sign in front of 500 Broad Street, that was ordered, but it was back ordered because of COVID delays or what have you, so I don't even know where that stands, so if that could be followed up on as well. In the budget, I know there'll be a budget hearing, but just for you guys to communicate amongst yourselves between now and the next 30 days, when the hearing is, were FEMA reimbursements ever received? I know 4 of you were on the governing body last year when it was reported that there was finally being submission of the FEMA reimbursement through the pandemic to make up for the funds that weren't submitted to the county and how much that was. I'm hoping that, you know, with the 15% increase of water and sewer the last 11 and a half months and the 9% in the tax rate, that we're going to be able to add additional skipper bus drivers back on. But I also don't know where. That's something else I wanted to point out. You guys might want to take a minute to look into when that grant runs out. I don't know if we have to put paperwork in to renew the skipper, but we used to have that operating 6 days a week. Hopefully we can go back and hire some more drivers and have that operating more. Because like Saturday at the festival, that would have been great to have the seniors have a way to get down there. Or it's been communicated that it was the seniors that asked for the flea market to come back. If the people at 500 Broad Street can't get to it, just want to point that out. I might be over my 5 minutes, hopefully I wasn't timing it, sorry. And then the last thing I just want to point out is, so we talked about 3rd Street flooding, we've talked about in depth about how there was no dredging done in the creeks in Keyport. And that was evident during Ida, when we were rescuing people and breaking windshields over on 36 and Van Dorn and Florence. So those are waterway issues, and they're important, but so is storm water coming into people's homes. And this has been going on for 10 years now, and it's not just my home, it's into businesses, and it's into Board of Ed offices. It's continual, and these people don't even realize that it's not their problem. So they're getting hit with all these charges by calling out private contractors. So this was a 10-year advocacy fighting for this, because it's not right. It's not right that there's a storm drain that's collapsed in the middle of the borough that's causing all this extensive damage of sewer water. This isn't rainwater, this isn't table water coming up from someone's basement. 27 times sewer water has poured into my basement. This is not okay. And just because I'm the only one coming to meetings and I'm the one fighting for it, I trust you. I hope you trust me in saying I am not the only one impacted by this. There's engineer reports. This was all confirmed last year after the budget was passed that this needs to be fixed. So I'm being told now that it's not going to be put into the budget this year, and I'm hoping that that's going to be corrected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Jack?
Jack Straub, 235 Main Street. A quick question for the engineer. I believe 2 meetings ago I asked about the opening of Main Street by the gas company near the intersection of Hurley. Was any determination made why that was done?
I know we looked into it. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Right, Hurley and Main Street. I remember specifically.
Right across the corner, there's an empty lot now, where the Keyport Forest used to be.
Right.
It's an empty lot. It was dug up, whatever it was, 2 months ago or so. It was not an emergency. What I understood was that it was dug up to do something for the owner of the property, to get it ready for whenever a building is going to be put up there. And my question was, Main Street's still under the moratorium. If it wasn't an emergency, why was the street opened? And I was told at that time that you'd look into it. I just want to know if there was an update yet.
Can you look into it and?
Yeah, I'll go back. I remember Kim and I worked on that and looked into it. It's been several weeks, and off the top of my head, I don't know.
All right, you want me to just follow up with
Follow up with
Kim?
Kim.
Yeah, follow up with
Yes.
Kim. I'll
Okay.
coordinate with her.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you. Elmer?
Elmer J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. I also had like John and them, you Madam Mayor, I also had the privilege of attending the Keyport Board of Education meeting a few nights ago and everything like that. And I definitely agree there should be a Borough Council liaison to that Board of Education, to the Keyport Board of Education and stuff like that. Because in regard, I understand the last report that came out in regard to the Keyport Borough schools and everything like that, we can do better. We can do better with our kids in the borough of Keyport, can do better by our kids, and that doesn't reflect on the borough, in the borough and our kids. But we should have a Borough Council liaison to that Board of Education. And I plugged this before, I'm going to plug it again. 3 times a week I go to We Care Adult Care in Middletown and Red Bank, Highway 35, Union Square. I help them out by volunteering, and they help me out too. And they have a Facebook page. Their staff is second to none. Like I said this before, in regard to, caregivers needing a break during the day. They bring their mother, their father there or whatever, especially the ones who suffer from dementia, and they'll take good care of them. And like I said, that staff is second to none. They have a Facebook page, We Care Adult Care, and if you know of anyone, any senior in the borough of Keyport who needs to go to an adult daycare center, that's the place right there. Like I said, they're on the Facebook page.
Elmer, we have flyers now from them that are in our kiosk out here.
Okay.
The senior center.
And that's senior center, yes.
Michelle, you dropped it off somewhere else.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
3 different areas. We
Okay.
requested them after one of the
Right.
meetings. So
Okay.
everybody has them.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Colette?
No, for a second, sorry. I think you might want to go, regarding Mr. Straub's comment, go back to November and December council meetings, because I believe that that was approved by the governing body to road open permit, because there was discussion about why it wasn't permitted for 66 Main Street, but it was being permitted for that, and it was a whole new construction type of conversation. So if you go back to the agenda, I think that actually may have been approved. And in regards to Church Street, there were some questions about that as well. There was a pre-construction meeting. The gas company did not report in, and the gas leak that was called in, actually was called in June. The road was paved in September, and it was cut back open again in October. So I had asked for an investigation on that, and now all of a sudden there's a major gas leak. So it wasn't until there was an investigation requested that all of a sudden there was a gas leak.
Thank you. Anybody else? Motion to close.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Vote.
Second.
One more vote.